The red emergency lights pulsed through the pristine corridors of Kepler Station. The sterile air, heavy with antiseptic, filled Silas's lungs as he meticulously prepared for the final surgery of his shift. His experienced hands moved with practiced precision, arranging surgical tools on the tray beside the operating table. The year 2473 had brought many advancements to interplanetary medicine, but the fundamentals remained unchanged. Save lives, do no harm. Kepler Station served as the hub for interplanetary medical research, though its facilities primarily catered to humans. Despite the loose trade agreements established between species, cooperation remained cautious at best. The Vorak Empire, in particular, maintained a haughty distance, reluctant to accept knowledge from what they considered inferior civilizations. Silas had seen enough blood across 3 Outer Rim campaigns to last several lifetimes. As a battlefield medic turned emergency surgeon, he carried both the steel resolve required for crisis medicine and a deeply rooted sense of compassion that defied the horrors he'd witnessed. His weathered face, though still relatively young at 35, bore the subtle lines of someone who had made too many life-or-death decisions. Final preparations complete. Silas, announced Mara, the station's medical AI, her holographic form materializing beside him. Patient vitals stable and ready for procedure. Thank you, Mara, Silas replied, adjusting the surgical light above the unconscious human patient. Standard appendectomy. Should be straightforward. The security gate to the operating theater suddenly emitted a harsh warning tone before the reinforced doors buckled inward with a deafening crack. Silas instinctively positioned himself between the patient and the intruder, grabbing a scalpel in a reflexive motion. Through the mangled doorway stumbled a figure unlike any Silas had encountered on the station before. Humanoid, but distinctly alien, with opalescent skin that seemed to shimmer despite the creature's obvious distress. Most striking were the intricate networks of golden veins visible beneath the translucent epidermis, pulsing with a faint bioluminescence that flickered erratically. The alien, female, Silas guessed from her physiological structure, collapsed onto the floor. A pool of golden fluid, the same color as her veins, began spreading beneath her slender form. Hostile breach! Security protocols engaged, Mara announced, her voice shifting to emergency mode as containment barriers began descending around the original patient. Silas's trained eye immediately assessed the intruder's condition, severe trauma to what appeared to be a vital junction of those golden vessels. Rapid fluid loss, deteriorating luminescence in the peripheral network. He recognized the species now, Salala, one of the specialized castes from the Vorak Empire, rarely seen this far into human territory. More significantly, he recognized her. 3 days earlier, this same being had attempted to assassinate him as he returned to his quarters. The disruptor blast had missed his heart by centimeters, burning through his shoulder instead. He'd glimpsed her retreating form as security responded. Those distinctive golden veins unmistakable even in the chaos. Mara, delay security. Medical emergency override, Silas Alpha 7. Override accepted. Security delayed for 3 minutes. Recommendation, immediate containment of hostile entity. Silas was already moving toward the fallen assassin, medical instincts overriding self-preservation. She's not a hostile entity right now. She's a patient. He knelt beside the Salala, quickly assessing the extent of her injuries. The golden fluid, blood, he presumed, continued to pulse from a wound in her abdomen. Her eyes, entirely black except for pinpoints of golden light that matched her veins, flickered open to meet his gaze. Recognition registered in those alien eyes, followed by confusion and then anger. She attempted to speak, but only a series of clicking sounds emerged before she lapsed back into semi-consciousness. Mara, I need a full biological scan. Prepare the secondary surgical bay. Silas, this being attempted to terminate your life 73 hours ago. Station protocols dictate immediate. I am aware of who she is, Silas interrupted, already lifting the surprisingly light form of the Salala. And I'm aware of what she did. But right now, she's bleeding out, and I'm a doctor. This is what I do. The surgical bay's systems hummed to life as Silas placed the alien on the operating table. The scanner's blue light passed over her form, revealing the complex network of golden vessels that seemed to serve as both circulatory and nervous systems simultaneously. Biological data insufficient, Mara reported. Vorik Empire restricts sharing of physiological information. 97% of internal structure unlisted in database. Silas examined the holographic representation of the scan. We'll have to work with what we've got. Increase magnification on the wound site. The image zoomed in, showing the severed connections of several major golden vessels. Whatever had caused the injury, likely a human weapon, had disrupted not just the physical structure, but seemed to have introduced some kind of interference in the bioluminescent properties of the surrounding tissue. I need to restore connectivity in these primary vessels, Silas muttered, more to himself than to Mara. The luminescence appears integral to function. As he prepared to operate, the ethical conflict roiled within him. This being had tried to kill him, would likely try again if she survived. Self-preservation argued for minimal intervention, perhaps even allowing nature to take its course. But deeper than his instinct for survival ran his commitment to healing. The oath he'd taken wasn't conditional on the patient's identity or intentions. The Salala's eyes flickered open again as Silas prepared a localized anesthetic, unsure if it would even work on her physiology. Why? The word emerged as a rasp, her translator evidently damaged but functional enough for basic communication. Because you need help, Silas replied simply, administering the anesthetic near what appeared to be neural junctions. And because that's what I do. Her black eyes narrowed, golden pupils contracting to tiny points of light. Foolish human. Probably, Silas agreed, beginning the delicate work of repairing the first severed vessel. But I'd rather be a foolish doctor than a wise executioner, working with virtually no blueprint of Salala physiology. Silas relied on observation and medical intuition. The golden vessels weren't simply tubes carrying fluid. They seemed almost semi-sentient, reacting to his instruments in ways that suggested a neural network integrated with the circulatory system. When he successfully reconnected the first major vessel, a pulse of intensified light traveled through the network, briefly illuminating interconnected pathways throughout her body. Fascinating, he murmured. Mara, are you recording this? The vessel structure appears to serve multiple functions simultaneously. All procedures are automatically recorded, the AI confirmed. However, I must note that exploration of Vorak physiology without imperial consent violates 17 interspecies protocols. Saving a life violates no protocols I recognize, Silas countered, continuing his work with increasing confidence as he began to understand the patterns of the golden network. The Salala remained conscious but silent, her alien eyes tracking his every movement. The hostility in her gaze had been replaced by something more complex. Confusion, perhaps, or calculation. After reconnecting the major vessels, Silas noticed that while the bleeding had stopped, the luminescence remained dangerously dim in several regions. The network wasn't fully reactivating despite the physical repairs. There's something more, he said, studying the holographic display. The network needs stimulation, some kind of energy to jumpstart the system. No data available on Salala recovery protocols, Mara stated. Silas thought quickly, his mind racing through possibilities. The golden network resembled neural pathways in some respects, suggesting electrical conductivity might play a role. I need to create a neural stimulator, he decided. Something that can generate precisely modulated electrical pulses that match the frequency of the network's own bioluminescence. Working rapidly, Silas modified a human neural stimulator from the emergency supplies, adjusting its output parameters based on readings from the scanner. It was improvisational medicine at its most daring, the kind of procedure that would never pass ethics committees but represented the only chance in crisis situations. "This may cause discomfort," he warned the Salala as he prepared to apply the device to one of the primary junction points in her network. "You will fail," she responded, her translator functioning more effectively now. "Our systems are beyond your comprehension." "Probably," Silas agreed again. "But I'm still going to try." He activated the stimulator, sending a carefully calibrated electrical pulse into the golden network. The response was immediate and dramatic. The Salala's body arched as a wave of intensified light surged through her veins, illuminating the entire network in a brilliant golden glow that momentarily outshone even the surgical lights. As the initial surge stabilized, Silas adjusted the frequency, finding the resonance that seemed to strengthen, rather than overwhelm the alien physiology. To his amazement, the network responded by not just returning to its previous state, but actually intensifying beyond what he presumed was normal. The golden veins now pulsed with a vibrant, steady luminescence that seemed to radiate vitality. "Remarkable," he breathed, observing the rapid healing now occurring at the wound site, as the energized network began repairing damage at an accelerated rate. "Your system doesn't just conduct energy, it amplifies it when properly stimulated." The Salala stared at her own body, evidently as surprised as Silas by the response. "How did you know?" she demanded, struggling to sit up despite her recent trauma. "I didn't," Silas admitted, gently encouraging her to remain still. "But human neural systems sometimes respond to similar stimulation after trauma. I took an educated guess that the bioluminescent properties of your network might respond to electrical stimulation in comparable ways." The tentative moment of scientific exchange was shattered by the harsh sound of the security gate being forcibly opened once again. This time, there was no stumbling entrance but a coordinated assault as 4 armored figures swept into the surgical bay, weapons raised. Unlike the Salala, these beings had burnished exoskeletons of deep crimson, with fewer visible golden veins that pulsed with a more controlled, regimented rhythm. Their helmets featured multiple sensory arrays, all now focused intently on Silas and his patient. The leader stepped forward, armor plates shifting seamlessly to accommodate the movement. When he spoke, the translation came through with crystal clarity. "Operative Salala, you have failed in your primary objective and compromised secondary protocols." The voice was cold, mechanical in its precision. "Explain your current situation before termination is authorized." Salala's response surprised Silas. Rather than offering explanations or pleading for understanding, she positioned herself between Silas and the newcomers, her recently healed body tensing for conflict. "Commander Korth," she acknowledged, "the mission parameters have changed. New information requires reassessment." The commander, Korth, tilted his helmeted head slightly. "No reassessment has been authorized. Your objectives were clear. Eliminate the human medical researcher and retrieve technological data from the station's database." Silas absorbed this information with a clinical detachment, born from years of battlefield triage. So he hadn't been a random target. His research had drawn the attention of the Vorak Empire. "The human possesses medical knowledge unknown to our scientists," Salala stated, her voice gaining strength. "His techniques stimulated neural vascular pathways beyond baseline efficiency. This discovery warrants investigation rather than elimination." Korvath's attention shifted to Silas. "Human medicine is primitive. Your assessment is compromised by neural degradation from your injuries." He advanced a step. "Step aside. The mission will be completed as ordered." Silas recognized the moment for what it was, a critical juncture where words might accomplish what violence could not. "Commander," he addressed Korth directly, keeping his voice calm and professional. I've just witnessed aspects of Salala physiology that suggest your species possesses remarkable potential for neural regeneration and enhancement. If your empire truly values advancement, there's more to gain from collaboration than elimination. You propose cooperation? Korvth's tone carried unmistakable derision. The Vorak Empire does not require human knowledge. No empire requires knowledge, Silas replied evenly. But every civilization benefits from it. The technique I just improvised might be rudimentary by your standards, but it produced results your operative found significant enough to defend. Salala's golden veins pulsed more intensely as she maintained her protective stance. The human speaks truth, Commander. His neural stimulation technology functions differently from our methods. The integration possibilities alone merit further study. Korvth's armor plates shifted, suggesting agitation or perhaps uncertainty. You suggest defying Imperial directive for medical research? I suggest fulfilling the true spirit of your directive, Salala countered. Information acquisition through cooperation rather than elimination. The tension in the room crystallized as Korvth raised his weapon, aiming not at Silas, but at Salala. Your judgment is compromised. Step aside for mission completion, or face consequences for insubordination. The confrontation escalated with breathtaking speed. Salala launched herself at Korvth with unexpected agility for someone recently at death's door. The enhanced luminescence of her golden network seemed to grant her increased strength and speed as she deflected Korvth's weapon. The other Vorak soldiers moved to intervene, but the confined space of the surgical bay worked against their coordinated tactics. Silas didn't hesitate. He grabbed the neural stimulator and several surgical implements, ducking behind the operating table as energy weapons discharged, leaving scorch marks on the pristine walls. Salala fought with extraordinary precision. Her movements fluid and calculated despite being outnumbered. Her intimate knowledge of Vorak combat protocols allowed her to anticipate and counter the soldiers' movements. However, Korvth's superior armor and weaponry gave him a distinct advantage, and Salala soon found herself forced into a defensive position. Silas observed the conflict with a battlefield medic's eye, noting how the golden networks visible in all the Vorak combatants pulsed and fluctuated during combat. Korvth's network, in particular, showed irregular patterns that reminded Silas of certain neural disorders he'd studied. When Salala was momentarily pinned against a medical cabinet by two soldiers, Silas seized his opportunity. He modified the neural stimulator to its maximum output, calibrated to the specific frequency he'd observed disrupting Salala's network earlier. "Salala, shield your eyes," he called out, then activated the device and thrust it toward the clustered Vorak soldiers. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The overloaded stimulator emitted a pulse of energy that interacted chaotically with the Vorak neural networks. The soldiers staggered, their coordinated movements dissolving into disarray as their golden veins flickered erratically. Korvth, closest to the device, dropped to one knee, his armor's systems temporarily disrupted by the neural interference. Salala, having heeded Silas's warning, recovered first and swiftly disarmed the disoriented soldiers. Within moments, the immediate threat had been neutralized, with 3 Vorak troops unconscious and Commander Korvth immobilized but still conscious, his neural network visibly destabilized. "What have you done?" Korvth demanded, his translation system stuttering as his golden veins pulsed irregularly. Silas approached cautiously, medical scanner in hand. "I've temporarily disrupted your neural vascular network with an overloaded version of the stimulator I used to heal Salala. The effect should be temporary." He studied the readings with growing concern. "However, your network was already showing signs of instability before the disruption." Salala moved to Silas's side, examining the scanner readings. "Neural degradation," she confirmed, surprise evident in her voice. You're suffering from Cascade Syndrome, Commander. Corvith's helmeted head jerked up. Impossible! I passed all medical evaluations before deployment. Early stages can be masked, Salala replied. Especially in someone of your rank with access to temporary stabilization compounds. Silas observed the irregular pulsing of Corvith's neural network with professional interest. This resembles certain progressive neural conditions in humans. The network is essentially attacking itself, creating cascading failures throughout the system. Corvith attempted to rise but faltered, his armor's systems responding erratically to his compromised neural commands. This changes nothing. The mission parameters can be fulfilled in ways you haven't considered, Silas interrupted, a bold plan forming in his mind. Commander, your condition will progress rapidly without intervention. I believe I can adapt the stimulation technique I used on Salala to temporarily stabilize your neural network, perhaps even reverse some of the degradation. You offer to demonstrate your technique. On me. Corvith's tone carried equal measures of suspicion and desperation. I do, Silas confirmed. Not as a bargaining chip, but as a demonstration of what could be achieved through cooperation. Cascade Syndrome affects thousands in the Voric Empire, doesn't it? What if the solution lies not in your advanced medical science, but in the unexpected application of a more primitive approach? Salala's golden eyes widened as she grasped Silas's strategy. The human neural stimulation might bypass the resistance our networks have developed to traditional treatments. For long moments, Corvith remained silent, the irregular pulsing of his neural network visible even through his armor. Finally, he spoke. Proceed, human, not as acceptance of your proposal, but as verification of Salala's claims. Silas worked quickly, modifying the stimulator to account for the differences he'd observed between Salala's network and Corvith's more militarized system. The commander's neural vascular pathways showed evidence of artificial enhancement, military augmentations that had likely accelerated the neural degradation. This will feel unusual, Silas warned as he prepared to apply the modified stimulator to a junction point in Corvith's neck, where the armor revealed a small section of his golden network. Your system may resist initially. When the stimulator activated, Corvith's entire body went rigid, the golden veins visible through his armor flaring with sudden intensity. For several tense seconds, the commander remained frozen, the luminescence of his network fluctuating wildly between brilliance and near darkness. Then, gradually, the chaotic pattern stabilized. The golden light settled into a steady, strong pulse that spread methodically throughout his system. Corvith's posture relaxed as the neural pathways reconnected properly, his armor systems responding smoothly once more to his commands. The pain. Corvith's voice held wonder rather than the previous coldness. It's subsided. For the first time in months. Silas checked the scanner readings. The stimulation has temporarily reversed the degradation cascade and established a more stable neural pattern. It's not a permanent cure, but with regular application and refinement, it could significantly slow the progression of your condition. Corvith rose to his full height, studying Silas with new assessment. You understand the implications of what you've demonstrated? I believe I do, Silas replied. A human medical technique, improvised with limited knowledge of your physiology, has temporarily stabilized a condition your advanced medical science struggles to treat. Imagine what could be accomplished with actual cooperation and information exchange. The commander turned to Salala. Your failure to complete the assassination may have inadvertently fulfilled the greater objective. Information acquisition of significant value. Salala's golden veins pulsed with what Silas was beginning to recognize as satisfaction. The mission parameters were too narrowly defined. Commander, the human's value extends beyond the specific research targets identified by Imperial intelligence. Corvith's attention returned to Silas. You understand that I cannot simply return to the Empire with reports of collaboration with humans. The political structures do not allow for such flexibility. Then, don't return immediately. Silas suggested. The three of us have witnessed something unprecedented here, a breakthrough that transcends the artificial boundaries between our species. If we can document this properly, develop it further, perhaps the evidence would be compelling enough to overcome even imperial pride. A moment of silence filled the surgical bay as Korth considered the proposal. His golden network, now pulsing with renewed strength, suggested his neural functions were operating with greater clarity than before. Kepler Station will soon register the security breach, he finally said. Your human authorities will respond with predictable aggression once they discover Vorak operatives. Then we leave, Salala stated simply. Take what we've learned to a location where we can continue this work without immediate interference. Earth, Silas suggested. My research facility there has equipment that could significantly advance this technique, and Earth's government would be more receptive to the potential benefits of cooperation than station security would be to an explanation of why I'm assisting my would-be assassins. Korth made a sound that the translator didn't convert, perhaps a laugh, or its Vorak equivalent. You propose that we, Imperial operatives, accompany you to the heart of human territory. The risk is substantial. As is the reward, Silas countered. For both our species, the decision crystallized quickly after that, with station security protocols already registering the unauthorized weapons discharge. Time was limited. Korth ordered his two conscious soldiers to retrieve their fallen comrades and return to their cloaked vessel with new orders. Depart for Vorak space with reports of mission failure, but no details that would prompt immediate reprisal. Silas gathered essential medical equipment and research data, including detailed scans of the Vorak neural networks and the modified stimulator prototypes. Salala secured an emergency escape pod, one of several stationed throughout Kepler, for evacuation during critical failures. Within 20 minutes of Korth's decision, the unlikely trio boarded the escape pod, launched from Kepler Station, and set course for Earth. The small craft's limited accommodations forced close quarters, creating an unusual opportunity for cultural exchange between species that had maintained careful distance for decades. During the journey, Silas explained the fundamental principles that had informed his approach to treating Salala's injuries. Human medicine developed through observation and adaptation, long before we understood the molecular basis of life. Sometimes that empirical approach leads to insights that more advanced theoretical frameworks might overlook. Korth, his armor now partially removed to reveal more of his crimson-hued exoskeleton and the golden network beneath, listened with unexpected attentiveness. The Vorak approach prioritizes perfection of existing frameworks rather than radical reconceptualization. It has served us well in most respects, but perhaps created blindness to alternative perspectives. Your pride is both your strength and weakness, Salala observed, her golden veins pulsing with a now familiar pattern that Silas had come to associate with contemplative thought. We achieve greatness through conviction, but miss opportunities through dismissal of lesser knowledge. The confined space of the escape pod created an intimacy that transcended the recent conflict. Silas found himself increasingly fascinated by Salala's perspective. Her insights into Vorak culture revealed a complexity that human intelligence reports had never captured. Her initial assignment as an assassin represented only a fraction of her capabilities. She was, in fact, a highly trained information specialist with extensive knowledge of multiple species' medical technologies. Why were you selected to eliminate me specifically? Silas asked, during their second day of travel. My research, while promising, hardly seems to warrant Imperial attention. Salala exchanged glances with Korth before responding. Your recent publications on neural regeneration using quantum-entangled stem cells theoretically threatened a Vorak monopoly on certain medical technologies. More significantly, Your approach suggested pathways that might have inadvertently revealed certain biological enhancements the Empire prefers to keep confidential. The Golden Network, Silas guessed. It's not entirely natural, is it? The network is natural in its origin, Korth clarified, but has been enhanced through generations of selective development and technological augmentation. The particular luminescent properties that allow for such efficient neural vascular integration were originally engineered for military applications, but spread throughout the population over centuries, Salala added. Now all Vorak castes possess some version of the network, though military specialists like Korth receive additional enhancements that unfortunately accelerate neural degradation. The irony wasn't lost on Silas. The very enhancements that made the Vorak military elite so formidable also ensured their eventual neurological decline. His improvised treatment might offer not just medical benefits but potentially social transformation within a rigidly stratified empire. As Earth grew larger in the escape pod's view screen, Silas faced a new challenge: how to present his Vorak companions to human authorities without triggering immediate security protocols. The solution came through his former commanding officer, Admiral Helena Reyes, now director of the Advanced Medical Division at the North American Research Complex. She understands the value of unconventional approaches, Silas explained as he composed a secure transmission, and has the authority to grant us access without triggering full diplomatic channels initially. Korth seemed skeptical. Your military leadership will welcome Vorak operatives on the word of a single medical officer? Helena isn't just any officer, Silas replied with a slight smile. She once performed emergency surgery on the UN Secretary-General using improvised tools during a space station decompression event. Her judgment carries considerable weight. The Admiral's response arrived within hours: a set of coordinates for a private research facility on the Pacific coast, clearance codes for atmospheric entry, and a terse message. This better be worth the 16 regulations I'm breaking. Reyes. Their arrival on Earth proceeded with surprising smoothness. The escape pod's human registry prevented automated defense systems from engaging, and Admiral Reyes had arranged for minimal personnel at the landing facility, just herself and 2 trusted medical researchers. When the pod's hatch opened to reveal Silas accompanied by 2 Vorak, the Admiral's expression remained impressively neutral. Dr. Warren, she greeted Silas formally. I see you've brought friends. Colleagues, Silas corrected, stepping forward. Admiral Helena Reyes. May I present Commander Korvith and Specialist Salala of the Vorak Empire. They've risked everything to pursue a medical breakthrough that could benefit both our species. The Admiral's keen eyes assessed the Vorak visitors, lingering on the visible golden networks pulsing beneath their skin. Considering we're technically not at war, but definitely not allies with the Vorak Empire, this should make for an interesting report. She straightened her posture. Welcome to Earth. Follow me. And try not to look too obviously alien. The facility staff have been told you're specialized cybernetic patients from the outer colonies. The research facility proved ideal for their needs. Isolated, advanced, and most importantly, secure from both routine oversight and unwanted attention. Admiral Reyes provided access to state-of-the-art medical equipment, some of which even Korvith acknowledged surpassed Vorak equivalents in certain specialized functions. Neural mapping at this resolution wasn't thought possible with human technology, he admitted, studying the detailed holographic representation of his own golden network. Your approach to quantum imaging is unconventional, but remarkably effective. Humans excel at finding unexpected paths to desired outcomes, Admiral Reyes commented, often because we lack the resources for the more obvious approach. Over the following weeks, Silas and his Vorak collaborators made remarkable progress. The initial neural stimulation technique evolved into a sophisticated treatment protocol that not only stabilized Korvith's condition, but showed promise for addressing the broader cascade syndrome affecting thousands of Vorak military specialists. More significantly, the collaborative work revealed deeper insights into both human and Vorak physiology. The golden networks that had initially seemed so alien to Silas now provided inspiration for new approaches to human neural regeneration. Conversely, human stem cell techniques offered possibilities for enhancing the Vorak network's natural regenerative capabilities. It's a perfect example of complementary evolution, Silas explained during a briefing with Admiral Reyes and a small group of cleared researchers. Our separate developmental paths created different solutions to similar biological challenges. By combining these approaches, we're achieving results neither species could reach independently. The Admiral, ever pragmatic, focused on broader implications. The medical benefits are clear, but we need to address the diplomatic elephant in the room. At some point, the Vorak Empire will notice the absence of a high-ranking commander and an elite operative. How do you propose we handle the inevitable inquiries? Korth, who had gradually adapted to human social customs, straightened in his chair. I've been considering this problem. The solution may lie in the very medical crisis we're addressing. Cascade syndrome has reached epidemic proportions among our military elite. If we can present a functional treatment as a human Vorak collaborative achievement, the immediate medical value might overcome political resistance. You're suggesting we use public health necessity to bypass imperial pride, Salala elaborated. The strategy has historical precedent within the Empire. During the Narvian Plague, imperial protocols were suspended to allow integration of Centaurian medical techniques. Admiral Reyes nodded thoughtfully. A medical alliance rather than a political one. It might work, especially if we frame it as a humanitarian initiative rather than a bilateral agreement. As the treatment protocol advanced toward clinical viability, the dynamics between Silas and Salala evolved as well. Their professional collaboration had gradually developed a personal dimension. Silas found himself increasingly drawn to her unique perspective and remarkable adaptability. For her part, Salala demonstrated growing comfort with human customs and expressions. Her initial assassin's detachment replaced by genuine engagement. The shift didn't go unnoticed by Korth, who observed their interactions with what Silas eventually recognized as amusement rather than disapproval. Your species has unusual mating rituals, the commander commented during a rare moment alone with Silas. Much time spent in verbal exchange before any biological compatibility is established. Silas nearly dropped the neural scanner he was calibrating. I'm not sure what you're implying, Commander. I imply nothing. I observe facts, Korth replied. Salala's neural patterns show distinct activation in your presence. Your pupillary responses and microfacial expressions indicate reciprocal interest. These are biological constants across sentient species. It's complicated, Silas admitted after a moment. Our first encounter involved her trying to kill me. An excellent test of compatibility, Korth stated, with what might have been deadpan humor. She failed to kill you. You succeeded in saving her. The foundation for mutual respect is established, despite the unlikely beginning and considerable cultural differences. Silas and Salala did indeed find themselves navigating an unprecedented relationship. Their shared work provided natural opportunities for deeper connection, with each breakthrough in understanding Vorak physiology paralleled by growing personal intimacy. Your golden network responds differently when we're discussing work compared to when we're simply talking, Silas observed one evening as they reviewed treatment data in the facility's observation lounge. Earth's moon, visible through the panoramic windows. Salala's network pulsed with a pattern he now recognized as mild embarrassment. Our networks reflect emotional states as well as physical ones. It is difficult to maintain formal detachment around you. Is that something you need to maintain? Silas asked gently. Her golden eyes met his, the luminescent pupils expanding slightly. No, not anymore. After a pause, she added, When you first treated me, you created resonance patterns in my network that persist. There is a connection that formed. It is not standard among my people. Nothing about this situation is standard, Silas replied with a smile. Maybe that's why it works. The golden light beneath her skin intensified, creating patterns more complex and beautiful than any he'd observed in their medical scans. She reached toward him, her slender fingers tracing the outline of the scar on his shoulder, the mark left by her assassination attempt. In Vorak tradition, a life saved creates obligation, she said softly. A life saved through unprecedented means creates something more profound. There is no word for it in your language. Then teach me yours, Silas suggested. Their personal connection deepened alongside their professional achievements. By the 6th week of collaboration, the treatment protocol had advanced to a stage where larger clinical trials could be justified. Admiral Reyes arranged secure communication with moderate factions within the Vorak diplomatic corps, presenting the preliminary results in terms that emphasized mutual benefit rather than human innovation. The response, while cautious, opened doors that had previously seemed permanently closed. A small delegation of Vorak medical specialists was permitted to visit the Earth facility under strict confidentiality protocols. Their initial skepticism dissolved quickly when confronted with Corvith's dramatically improved condition and the comprehensive data supporting the treatment's efficacy. The Imperial Medical Directorate will require convincing, the senior Vorak physician acknowledged after reviewing the evidence. But the results speak with undeniable clarity. This collaboration has achieved what our isolated efforts could not. The breakthrough came when the visiting specialists revealed the true scope of the Cascade Syndrome crisis. Nearly 30% of enhanced military personnel showed early symptoms, with projected neural failure reaching critical levels within 5 years. The Empire faced potential collapse of its defensive capabilities if the progression continued unchecked. This is no longer about scientific curiosity or medical advancement, the lead Vorak specialist explained grimly. It is about survival. The Empire cannot maintain its position if the syndrome continues unchecked. Admiral Reyes, ever the strategist, recognized the perfect leverage point. Then, perhaps it's time to formalize our collaboration, a joint medical initiative, focused specifically on neural regeneration techniques, with guaranteed benefits for both civilizations. The negotiations that followed were complex but remarkably productive. The immediate medical necessity created openings in diplomatic channels that had remained closed for decades. Within 2 months, a framework agreement established the first Human-Vorak Medical Alliance, focused initially on neural treatments, but with provisions for expanding into other areas of mutual interest. For Silas, the professional triumph was matched by personal fulfillment. His relationship with Salala had blossomed into something neither of them could have imagined during their first violent encounter. The neural connection she had described proved more than metaphorical. Their collaborative work revealed that the stimulation techniques had indeed created a unique resonance pattern between her golden network and his human neural system. It appears the initial treatment created a form of quantum entanglement between certain neural pathways. One of the human researchers explained, after discovering the phenomenon, theoretically impossible, but the scans confirm it. Corvith, whose condition had stabilized completely under the refined treatment protocol, seemed to find satisfaction in this unexpected development. The universe has strange methods of creating balance, he observed. An assassination attempt transforms into a medical breakthrough, which evolves into a diplomatic initiative, which catalyzes personal connection, patterns within patterns. The formal establishment of the Human-Vorak Medical Alliance marked both an ending and a beginning. With official recognition came new responsibilities and opportunities. Silas was appointed Director of Neural Research for the human contingent, while Salala served as the principal Vorak liaison for implementation across Imperial territories. Their final evening before departing for the first joint research installation, a newly constructed facility in neutral space, found them once again in the observation lounge of the Pacific facility, Earth's lights glimmering below as night swept across the western coast. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when you first broke into my operating theater?" Silas asked, his hand intertwined with hers, her golden veins pulsing in harmony with his touch. "Never," Salala admitted, the luminescence of her network creating gentle patterns across her skin. "I was prepared to complete my mission or die in the attempt. The possibility of this existed in no scenario I had contemplated. Sometimes the best outcomes are the ones we couldn't have planned for," Silas reflected. "Though I could have done without the assassination attempt." Her golden eyes sparkled with what he now recognized as amusement. "Without it, you would never have discovered the neural stimulation technique. Our paths would not have crossed in meaningful ways." "True enough," he conceded. "Though next time, maybe just introduce yourself formally instead." "Next lifetime. Perhaps," she agreed, her free hand tracing the now familiar pattern of his facial features. "In this one, we follow the path that opened before us, however unexpected its beginning." The alliance they had helped forge faced numerous challenges ahead. Conservative factions in both human and Vorak societies viewed the collaboration with suspicion. Implementation of the treatment across vast Vorak territories would require overcoming logistical and cultural barriers. The broader diplomatic implications remained uncertain, with some fearing the medical alliance might be weaponized or exploited by either side. Yet the foundation had been established. The first genuine bridge between humans and the Vorak Empire stood not on political convenience or military necessity, but on the universal principle of healing. It had begun with a single human doctor refusing to abandon his commitment to life, even when that life belonged to his would-be killer. As the lights of Earth reflected in Salala's golden eyes, Silas felt a profound sense of possibility. Their personal connection, human and Vorak, physician and former assassin, symbolized something larger than themselves. The neural resonance between them, scientifically improbable but undeniably real, perhaps foreshadowed a deeper potential for connection between their civilizations. "Tomorrow we begin the real work," he said softly, "taking what we've learned here to those who need it most, and discovering what else might be possible when we set aside assumptions and work together." Salala added. The golden light of her network pulsed in perfect synchronization with the rhythm of Silas's heartbeat, visible evidence of a connection that transcended the biological differences between them. Beyond the observation windows, Earth turned beneath the stars, one small world among countless others. The Human-Vorak Medical Alliance represented just the first tentative step toward a new relationship between civilizations that had long viewed each other with caution and suspicion. Many challenges lay ahead, but in the neural resonance between a human doctor and his former Vorak assassin lay the promise of possibilities, yet unexplored. "To unexpected beginnings," Silas said, raising the small cup of celebratory earth wine they had been sharing. "And unforeseen futures," Salala responded, her golden network glowing with an intensity that matched the stars themselves.